2805. 2805 is a number to beat today. My first Slog3 video was 28 minutes and 5 seconds. Since then, I've made a lot of upgrades, simplified things. I think we can make this update video a lot faster. We're wasting way too much time though. Let's get into it. What's up? Welcome back to a fresh new video. Today, yes, we're talking about the updates to my entire workflow for shooting in Slog3. My first Slog3 video was the most successful one on my channel. Thank you to everybody who checked that out. I hope some of you are coming back to this one to see what's changed, what's been enhanced, and that's exactly what we're gonna talk about today. And on that note, a lot of what I said in that video still does hold up, but I felt as though I made enough changes that I had to give an update to all of you. And Slog3 has returned as my go-to picture profile. After my Cine 2, and I made even a custom picture profile. Bit of a hiatus there. I still do like those picture profiles, but Slog3 is the king again. I think that similar to a lot of people, I thought I had to overexpose with Slog3 because that's how you maximize dynamic range. Am I supposed to expose to 0.7, 1.3, 2.0? And that overexposure led to a lot of inconsistent results for me. And of course, that led to a lack of confidence and had me kind of steer away from Slog3 for a while. The problem is that when you get Slog3 correct in camera and you get your grading right in post, it just looks better. And the good news for all of you is that through all of my mistakes, I'm gonna be able to give you a system that's delivering consistent results for me. Just a quick note, because a lot of you are gonna ask this, no, I don't overexpose for this method. I think that makes it a lot easier. I may or may not lose some dynamic range because I'm not overexposing, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody smarter than me, like a Gerald Undone or something, can review this method I'm gonna go over today and let you all know if we're actually losing dynamic range. Again, I'm not really sure. It's also not my method. It's probably a culmination of different YouTube videos that I've watched and things that I've tried in the field over and over and over again to finally land on a system that's been working for me recently. I'm gonna be taking you through my entire process today, A to Z, in-camera settings all the way through my grading process. And I'm gonna be using the A7S3. This will also work seamlessly for the FX3, but if you, or anything that shoots Slog3 for that matter. But if you happen to be shooting in something like an A7 III, an A6000 series, an A7R series, those cameras at the time of making this video, those shoot in 8-bit. So I'd encourage you not to use Slog3. Slog2 tends to be a better picture profile for those 8-bit cameras. I do have two other videos that are gonna be really helpful to pull everything we're talking about today together. They're both on my channel already. I'll link them up top. The first one is gonna be how I use zebras to expose my images. And the second video is gonna be how I set up the A7S3, if that's the camera that you're using, how I set up my A7S3 for filmmaking. Because when we go in camera, I'm looking at how I'm getting a lot of the settings, I'm shortcutting some buttons, and that is all gonna be in that video that I just linked up top. Now, at some point throughout this video, I'm gonna hit you with a point, something that makes you go, got it. I've been waiting to figure that out for so long, and that's how you do it. When that happens, make sure you tell the algorithm what's up by giving this video a tap on the thumbs up. Also, the comment section is a really good place to ask questions. I'll try to get back to as many of those as I possibly can, but also let me know your thoughts and overall workflows when it comes to Slog3. But the best way to support the channel is to subscribe. Actually, I'm sorry, just 1 second here. Yo, Terry, what's up, man? How you doing?
Sean, dude. What up, man? Are you busy?
No, it's totally fine, man. It's actually really good timing. Hey, question for you. So my last Slog3 video had a lot of views, really cool, made me think like this YouTube thing is super easy. Wrong. Anyways, had a lot of views, which is great, but only a few of those viewers actually decided to subscribe. Any tips?
Actually, I do have a tip for you. So I found that in videos where I don't ask people to subscribe, you know, they'll drop the comments, they'll be like, oh, I love this video, XYZ. But in videos where I do not ask them to subscribe or like the video, they don't do it.
Nope, that makes sense. But wait a second. Are you telling me that people will watch videos and even if they like it and like the channel, they won't actually subscribe?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying to you, dude. I've tested this on my channel and it's crazy because if you don't ask people, a lot of times people won't do it.
We gotta fix this.
I got an idea. Tighter shirts. I mean, yes. I think that works.
Yes, tighter shirts.
No, that's a bad idea.
Not tighter shirts. No, not tighter shirts.
No, that's a bad idea. Yeah, for sure, dude. I really think as long as you give people value, you give them a reason to subscribe. When you
ask them to subscribe, because there's a ton more videos on my channel just like this one, and it's a win-win because I'm gonna keep bringing the heat, and them subscribing to the channel lets them know when those new videos are getting posted, and it helps me out at the same time.
If you haven't given them value, if you haven't given them what they came for, and then you turn around and ask them to subscribe, they're gonna look at you like, bro, are you crazy?
Okay, I'm gonna keep thinking of some creative ways to build that into a video. In the meantime, actually, your background looks amazing, man. Did you change that recently?
Actually, yeah, I did. Hey, remember when we had first started talking and I told you like, yo, man, you inspired my current setup. You remember that? Yeah? Well, I changed all of that, right? Remember when I had my back towards the wall and I had like the light beam on me and everything? Well, all that's gone. So now all of this back here, I painted all of that. It's all black. I got the light beam on the wall. All of this is getting painted black too. But anyways, I got to get out of here, man. I'm going to holler at you.
All right, man. Yeah, peace. Special thank you to Terry for taking the time to do that. Look, if you guys aren't subscribed to Terry's channel, what are you doing? You're missing out. He's been one of my favorites for a long time. Tons of good stuff on the channel. Overall, just a really cool guy as well. So go check out his channel. Anyways, in-camera settings, let's go. The first step in our in-camera settings is going to be creating our Slog3 picture profile. To do that, we can actually choose any of these PP 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to like 11. Any of these picture profile containers that we want. All we have to do, go into the container, go to the very bottom under reset, and hit enter, and that will completely reset the entire container. So if you want your Slog3 picture profile to be PP1, just go in, go to reset, enter, and then from there, all you're gonna have to do is change a few different things. For me, I keep my Slog3 picture profile on picture profile 2. Again, doesn't matter what number it is, that's just the one that I've always had it at. Go into gamma, make sure that is at Slog3. Next thing you're gonna change is just gonna be color mode. We want that to be S-Gamut3 Cine. And moving into our exposure and white balance for the in-camera settings, look, these are the basics. And to steal from Kobe Bryant, who said, never bored with the basics. If we get our exposure and white balance tuned in every single time and look at that as a lifelong journey to master, our image is gonna look better every single time. My go-to exposure method is gonna be via using zebras. So if you haven't seen that video yet, one more time, I'm gonna let you know, make sure you check out the how I use zebras to expose my images, because it's gonna help out this section a tremendous amount. One thing I do wanna mention is that in that video, when I talk about exposing 15% higher than what the values are on the chart, I've gone back on that, especially for Slog3. I am exposing the values to exactly what is in that chart. So no more 15% over, I expose exactly to what's on the chart. And I've mapped my zebra displays on and off, as well as how I'm gonna be setting these values. Very shortcutted, very quickly, because I use them multiple times throughout any given shoot. And it's the last time I'll say this, but check out that video for how I set up my A7S III for filmmaking if you want to know how I shortcut these and get to them very quickly. Moving on to white balance, there's a couple of things that I do here. The first one, the simplest one, under my white balance options, just do a Kelvin setting. In this exact situation, I know my key light's 5600, so I would just go in and make sure that my Kelvin setting's at 5600, lock it off, and done. The next option is to use auto white balance. So I use this in two different ways. For example, let's say that I'm doing like a vlog and the white balance is changing. I'm just gonna let the camera do its thing in auto white balance. If I'm in a scene that I know I wanna lock off the white balance, but maybe I don't know what the Kelvin setting is, or for some reason it has to be fast, I'll turn the auto white balance on, give the camera a couple seconds to gauge the white balance, and then I've just toggled my AEL button to lock it. So it's not gonna change until I actually unlock that auto white balance, but typically let the camera do its thing. I will lock it off completely until I go to the next scene and need to change that white balance. And if you're wondering why my AWB, the auto white balance icon, looks a little bit weird with that little W next to it, that's because for me, what I do for my camera, for my white balance, is that I actually turn this priority set in auto white balance. I actually set this to AWB white as opposed to AWB standard. I just found that this provides a little bit more of a cooler look, and just like I like it better, so that's why I have that AWB with that W next to it. And the last way to get white balance tuned in is just by using just a standard gray card. It's actually something that I don't do that often anymore with the A7S III as well as the FX3. Having the ability to get auto white balance and just lock it off tends to be a pretty fast way. The other reason I don't do this is because you have to have the camera not in one of the custom sets. I'm currently in custom set number 3 on the camera. You can see that little icon next to the M over there, but custom set number 3, fast way to shortcut the camera. To actually custom set your white balance, you have to go into regular movie mode. All right, so I ventured over to regular movie mode just to show you how to do this in case you want to. Again, I almost never use this, but in my white balance menu, I can go into either of these 1, 2, or 3, go in here, click on set. I'm gonna leave that little square right in the middle, bring my gray card in, and then just give it a little tap. And it set the white balance. Looks like it's going 5800 at M1. So if I was doing this, I'd have it at 56. So overall, pretty close. But again, I don't use that very often because I like using the custom memory recalls on the camera. And with that being said, when it comes to white balance, know your camera, know how to get that tuned in, and know the methods that you're gonna use that deliver you consistent results. Something I wish I would have told myself very early on when I was starting out with this stuff. Get really good at white balance and setting it really quickly and accurately. And let's move into the fun stuff. Let's get into color grading. Okay, so as we jump into post-processing, I'm using Premiere. You can use anything. It's gonna be a similar process, though the functionality might be a little bit different, but let me show you. A lot of you are gonna be like, there's no way it's that easy. It really is. And disclaimer, like I'm not using any correction LUTs anymore. In my first video, I was talking a lot about using Leeming LUTs as my correction LUT. I still like Paul Leeming a lot, still like his LUTs, and I still use them from time to time. I was finding with the overexposure and then using that LUT, it was getting a lot of like crushed blacks, which was really hard for me to work with and kind of get those back to where I wanted them to be. With that being said, I've developed this process, and here's how it's gonna start. First thing, I grade with adjustment layers. How to make adjustment layers, up here in my project file in Premiere, I'm just gonna right click, new item, and go to adjustment layer. Make sure it matches my sequence settings. This is 4K at 30 frames a second. Click OK, I'm gonna drag that right on top of my clip, extend it out, click, option, drag up, let go of the mouse first, then of option, and I have 2 adjustment layers right here on top of the clip. And from there, let's bounce over to the color panel. We can actually get to work at this point. And we're gonna be working in 4 different clips today. We got this main angle shot that you've all seen 100 times at this point. We also have this nighttime vlog style shot. I've got this shot, one of my most favorite shots I've ever taken with my camera. You'll see that one in just a minute. And then this last one here, a little bit more of like a, though there's a subject, a little more landscapey, really showing off the dynamic range of Slog3. All of these clips shot using the same methods I've already talked about. I'm only gonna grade this first one, but I'll export and show you those other ones. It's just the same process for all 4 of them, minus the clips being different. It's the same exact process. So here's the first thing that I do. I go to my first adjustment layer and I'm gonna kick into my curves panel. And from here, just next to this line, I'm just gonna make a point and I'm gonna drag this down until on my scopes over here, I'm using the waveform RGB, and then this on my right side, this is my vector scope YUV. So my waveform over here, I'm just gonna be dragging this point down until the lowest parts of the image, the blacks, get at or just above 0. Something you've all probably heard 100 times before, but let's just keep bringing those down. The image is gonna look really bad for a second. Just the first step of the process, done. And next, over here on the highlights, just next to this line, we're gonna grab that and drag it up. I'm gonna be dragging that up until that brightest part is at or just below 100. So pretty close to that. And then this is my skin tone here, and we can see that I exposed that just right below 70, between 65 and 70, somewhere in there, which matches that zebra chart that I was talking about earlier. So when I say I'm not overexposing the image, I'm not overexposing the image really at all. It's true to the zebra chart. Doesn't look so good though. We got some more work to do. That's it with curves. Next piece I'm gonna do under my creative panel before I go and really fix this image. Need to pump some saturation back in. I typically go to 130 and I go +5 on vibrance. Those are my starting points because log is so flat. We need to add contrast in, which we just did with the curves, and then some more saturation, which I just did under the creative panel. Next piece from there under basic correction, this is where I really get the image to start to get a look that I like. There's way too much contrast in here. So naturally the best thing that I can do is start to pull contrast out until I get something that I like a lot more. So some quick before and afters. I know that I added contrast in with the curves and now we took it back out. That's just the process that I've been doing. It's been working really well. I actually like where this is at so far. I don't have much more to do before I go ahead and stylize the clip. You can increase saturation to what you want and what you think looks good. That's up to you. For me, I found that 130 is a good starting point because when I stylize the clip, I'm gonna play with saturation a little bit further. Another thing you might want to do is maybe your highlights are a little bit washed out. You want to pull those down, that's fine. Maybe you like the look of a slightly lifted shadow, that's fine. For me, all I would do is curves, contrast, saturation, and vibrance, and I would be done with the basic correction. It's that simple, that's all I've been doing. So, quick before and after. What's up, Editor Sean jumping in here real quick. I forgot one thing I knew I'd forget because adding sharpening in post is fairly new for me. Like I mentioned, we're talking about picture profiles. I used to keep my sharpening down to -2, wouldn't do any sharpening in post, but now I'm bringing that down to -7. I have some sharpening to add in post. So here's how I'm doing that. I'm just adding a global sharpening, typically around +20 is where I land, just to clean up some of those edges. You can also do this with like an unsharp mask because I know this method is adding sharpening everywhere, which could potentially be adding some sharpening into the shadows and the noise. I haven't noticed a huge difference with that, so I just add about 20 sharpening to every shot when I'm shooting a picture profile that's shot in -7 detail in camera. All right. Back to it. And once we have the clip corrected, we've taken it from this crazy log looking clip, assuming we got our exposure and white balance correct, we've got it corrected. Contrast is added, saturation is added, and that's a really good starting point. Next thing that I would do is I would stylize the clip. I do that on my second adjustment layer. And from there, all I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna go to my creative panel. So I'm just gonna grab that pike LUT. I just kept this one on my desktop, not the best organization there, but you get it, and that's gonna stylize the clip. I'm not quite done, I got some more work to do, but just a quick, there's our basic correction, and this is us adding the pike LUT on top of that. If you pick my LUTs up, I have all the versions in there. I've made like 5, 6 different versions of pike, maybe 4, I don't know, a bunch of different versions of pike. And you can see like there's just small tweaks to each one. Maybe you like Gen 1, maybe you like Gen 3, 100% up to you. Just keep in mind, my LUTs are not correction LUTs. These LUTs are stylized looks to clips that have already been corrected or shot with no picture profile. And then from there, you can just decrease the intensity if it's coming in too strong, or maybe it's not coming in strong enough and you can increase it. These are very subtle LUTs. I keep it at 100 and make some tweaks in the HSL secondary tab when it comes to skin tone, which let's do right now, because if you look before we added this versus after, we've kind of, yes, we've changed the skin tone a little bit. We've changed some of those blues, but we also kind of washed out the skin tone. I want to get some saturation back into that. To do that, I go to my HSL secondary tab, select the red, usually grabs the skin tone. I'm going to turn this filter on to see what I'm working with. Bring the denoise up, bring the blur up so that the effect has a nice like runoff to it. It's not really like stark on the edges. Let's get rid of that filter so we can see what we're doing. And then from there, I'm just gonna be bringing the warmth of that skin tone up and you can see what we're working with. So I'm gonna bring the warmth up a little bit. I'm probably gonna bring the saturation up. Might even bring the saturation down and bring the warmth up even further. You can kind of tweak around with that. But in short, I typically land somewhere around there. I would probably refine this and go a little bit deeper on it, but that's before the stylized look. That's after, as well as that HSL secondary. Before I export this, I'll make some like really refined tweaks. But here's a nice thing about using adjustment layers is that you can just drag it over your clips, and everything that we just did to that first clip, and these would probably need a lot more tweaks, but now we've done it to these clips as well. Right? So all those tweaks we just made, they're all done to these clips. I'm gonna go into these, I'm gonna tweak these up and make them look really, really nice for you. And let's see how they look fully exported, fully ready to go. So there you have it. That's my entire process when it comes to how I'm working with Slog3. And my last point, there's been a lot of comments popping up in the Facebook groups on the Sony a7S III and just in general about people saying, hey, why am I getting so much noise? Slog3 sucks at low light. This clip was shot at 51,200 ISO. Get your exposure right and you're grading it properly. This camera is gonna perform at high ISOs. Let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a full-on tutorial on how I'm shooting in low light to get results like that. I'm happy to do that. Anyways, that's gonna do it for me. My name is Sean. Wait, how do I always forget this? 1 second. My friends over at Rode want to give one of you this ProCaster, one of my favorite microphones of all time. As soon as my channel gets to 10,000 subscribers, I'm shipping this out to somebody. Check the form link out down below for how to win. Very simple, put your information, I'm gonna pick somebody and send you a mic. Couldn't get any more simple than that. My name is Sean DeWispelaire. This channel is all about the skills behind the art of creativity, photography, videography, gear reviews, tutorials. Me being full-time in the fitness industry, it's always gonna have a little bit of a fitness feel to it. If any of that is something that you're into, subscribe down below. I'll look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. See ya.